Hey you guys, welcome back to Esther's Eden. I'm Esther. I am so excited to show you what is growing in the cellar garden today. We have some work to do also, so I'm going to take you on a little tour and then I'm going to show you what we got to do today. So, I can't even. I'm just so excited, you guys. This is the cellar garden. We call it the cellar garden because we had planned on putting a root cellar here initially, but then after the first year of gardening here, we actually decided we really loved this much garden space. And so we kept it. And of course the name stuck. So this is basically our main summer production and I really love it. Summer production is something we struggle with here because it gets cold and we have such a short season. So things like peppers and tomatoes, squash, cucumbers are a little easier, but beans are really tricky because our temperature fluctuates so dramatically here. And I have been working really hard on this property actually for about 6 or 7 years now, 7 years roughly, to figure out exactly what can grow here and how to grow it well. So we have focused this garden pretty heavily on growing main crops, like what can we store, what will get us through the season. So right now we have squash and peppers, cabbage right here, onions, broccoli, cauliflower, beans, tomatoes, and we had peas as well. So that's basically what we've had in here. A lot of the broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower is just finishing up, so we're going to be ripping this stuff out soon. And those are sort of easy crops for me to grow here. These beans behind me, I'm so excited about them. They have done really well. We are doing a trial with 3 different kinds of soup bean, and it's tricky, you guys. They've been growing forever. I don't usually do pole beans because they just don't grow fast enough here, and we do finally have beans on them. I found some really bigger beans on them right here. The issue is that our temperatures get really hot. Like we've been consecutive, like for 3, 4, 5 weeks now, I don't know, consecutively in the 90s and hundreds and very high 80s. And beans don't like those temperatures, so it's a little bit tricky. We have really early cold, and the cold, they don't like that either. So I have a couple of tricks that I'm going to share with you guys, not in this video, but coming up soon, especially so that for next year it will help you. I'm still working out some kinks for those things, but how you guys can actually get production out of your beans and how we can get production out of our beans here in our crazy Northwest climate. Now, I want to move into the fun things that I'm super excited to show you, okay? So I'm going to flip the camera and take you on a little journey through this garden. I actually have a ton of tomatoes on these plants, you guys. Like, look. They are totally and completely loaded. Don't judge me, I know. I should have tied them up, but I couldn't remember which ones were determinants and I couldn't remember which ones were indeterminants. They are literally loaded. And do you see those ones right there? Right there. They are starting to turn. I am super duper excited about that. These ones are gonna turn too. And they're so healthy. They're doing great. So I've been testing different varieties of which ones are gonna actually produce here. Look at them all. They're just everywhere. And that's basically how this entire row is. Every plant is completely loaded. Look underneath here, you guys. Look at them. I'm so excited. Look at even right there. Why is this a big deal? Why is it a big deal that I have tomatoes on my tomato plants? It's a big deal because we had such a late start to our season. We didn't even get warm weather until like, well, it was definitely in July. I want to say the first or second week of July. I don't know dates, you know. But the way that I know that these methods that I've been testing out are working is because I have tomatoes. I never get tomatoes. I don't usually even get this many. The plants don't even get this big before we even get a frost. Last year I was slightly successful, but it was a brutally hot year and there was no way for me to know if it was just because we just had early warm weather, if that was why I had success. Now, we had an unusually short season. It was June 24th, our last frost, to August 18th was our first frost last year. That was pretty awful. I had so many tomatoes and they did get frosted, and I ended up with a wheelbarrow full of green tomatoes basically that never turned. In fact, before they would ripen, they just ended up rotting. So that just tells me they weren't completely mature before I picked them, but I had no choice. We had frost. So what are we going to do about this, you guys? Because we are a week into August, a little over a week into August. Nearly 2 weeks into August, actually. And I have plants full of tomatoes. Are they ripe? No. So we're going to go through the tomato plants. I now know which ones are determinate and which ones are indeterminate. And that just means that a determinate tomato goes till a certain height and stops growing. It produces all its crop all at once, and that's it. You pick it all. It's great for canning. An indeterminate plant keeps growing forever, for its whole life. It just keeps growing taller and taller and bigger and produces fruit over a longer period of time. So I decided a few years ago to start testing. Last year was the first year. I picked 3 different varieties to test out. I've grown 2 of those varieties this year for sure. Yeah, I can't, and one of them was Bonnie's Best and one of them is Mushroom Basket, and I can't remember what the third one was right now, but I don't think I even planted it this year. So anyway, if I figure it out, I'll let you guys know. But at the same time, I haven't decided which one of those is going to be our best one yet. So I have to harvest the fruit and figure out flavor and taste. I want a tomato I can make salsa with, primarily. Probably can into sauce, and also we can a lot of diced tomatoes. And our season is so short that while I love eating fresh tomatoes, it's just not really in the cards for us to be able to do that a ton here. Like it just doesn't work very well for us. So that's okay. Totally fine. We eat within what we can grow, and that works well for us. So I'm going to have to go through here. We're going to cut off all the tops of the tomato plants. We're going to trim up all the bottoms. We're going to pull off all of the things that are not fruiting and all of the flowers. And that's going to be something we're going to be doing between today and tomorrow. Until I got stung a few minutes ago, my plan was actually do this afternoon, but I think we may end up having to wait till tomorrow morning because the bees are so active in here, and we may end up having to cut a few of these sunflowers out, which is why I had to show you them before we cut them down. And I have plenty more, don't worry. I have tons and tons of sunflowers in the garden, but in order to access the tomatoes and actually get some production out of here, I think we're going to have to get rid of some of the hot spots for bees here. And they'll have to just go to the other sunflowers. Okay, so while I am super excited about these tomatoes, I will show you the peppers in a second. I have to show you the thing I am way excited about that we found yesterday. So here's our pepper house. This is one of 2 tunnels. The other one is over there. The pepper plants in here. So these were planted pretty darn late, but they are flowering. We'll see what happens, and we will roll down these sides every single night probably from now on. just to protect them from frost. I know you see a few weeds in here. I finally decided that I could either weed or I could harvest, and obviously we want to eat the food. So harvesting, it won out over weeding a little bit in the last few weeks. It's just been so busy. There's so much to keep on top of. That's okay. That's all right. I don't mind. I will show you what's going on in this other pepper house because I find it really amusing. How, no matter what, it seems like I always end up having mostly lemon drop peppers. I don't know why it happens every single time. And they are so spicy. They're really good. Last year I made, for a Christmas present for my husband, I made him homemade fermented hot sauce with the lemon peppers, and they were really good. It was such a good, it was like almost like a hot sauce salsa kind of thing. It was so hot, but every bite you were like eating it, and it's so citrusy. You couldn't stop eating it, but your mouth was on fire. It was just like, oh my gosh, stop eating, but you can't. It was so good. So I did pick quite a lot of these guys the other day, but they're regrowing. Now I do like these. If you guys are looking for a good hot pepper for the north, these suckers produce like crazy. They're really early in the season and you can get a really good harvest out of them. I've been pretty happy. It's probably been 3 or 4 years since we started growing these, and they do produce a lot of peppers. Another one we have here is the cayenne pepper, and I did plant lots of cayennes and they're growing really well. We have lots of fruit on them, and that will be awesome. I'm kind of bummed because we didn't get very many jalapeno, which I did plant a lot of. I think they just got pushed over by the cats early in the season. And then another pepper we really love growing is the Hungarian hot wax. Those produce really well for us, but again, I don't really see very many of those, so I don't know. Next year I'm gonna try. Hold me accountable, you guys. Remind me next year when I am planting peppers to put my labels on them. I need a good label system for plants because either my kids pull the little tabs out, it just happens. They're like, oh mom, what's this plant? And then whoops. Or the stickers wear off, or I'll be perfect with labeling them, and then you water and water and water and your label wears off. So a little bit of that's happened in the squash patch. So some of the things I don't really know what they are, but I am so excited. Do you see this, you guys? I have a squash patch, and I know I just had this in another video, but it's one thing to have plants. It's another thing to actually have squash. I have been picking zucchini off of here for a few days now, and I'm super excited, and I found a whole bunch. So I'm going to show you guys my squash. Look, here's a spaghetti squash, and it's like big. Look at that. Good results here. So there's another one, because I've been looking and looking and looking for the best varieties. Let's see, we did just pick them last night, but I got a zucchini right there. There's more zucchini. Look, 1, 2, 3. This is a kabocha. Here's another spaghetti squash. Here's another kabocha. And a whole bunch of babies. This one, I'm so bummed. A vole ate it. See? Kabocha. That's what we're going to call it. What else have we got here? These guys, I can't remember what they're called and our label's gone, but I do have the seed packet. There's another one. And look at these. Look how big they are. Look at them. I'm so excited. That's probably like 8 inches right there. Ah, you can't see. I'm super duper excited. We have all, like this guy. These are cricknecks. This plant is massive. This one is like a straight neck, like a yellow straight neck squash. It's got a little bit of blossom end rot on this one for some reason. And then that's another crickneck. I am so stinking excited about all these squash, you guys. They make me so happy. So we are going to be harvesting out of that garden. We're going to be going ahead and pulling out a whole bunch of stuff. It's time to pull the cabbages, get them out, and we're going to make sauerkraut with them. And if you guys are interested in how to make sauerkraut, be happy to do a video on that for you. Leave it down in the comments for me. And remember, every time you leave a comment, it really helps our channel grow and it helps other people to get to see these videos. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Now let's talk about this garden, which has done amazing. Remember, we just converted this garden into raised bed garden this year. If you want to see that video, I'll leave it up in the iCards for you. It's a little crazy. It's gotten a little bit crazy. We've had a ton of awesome produce out of it. Beds like this one, though, I have noticed have gotten a little dry. If you have an amazing idea for how to keep your raised beds watered and from drying out, I would love your tips on watering systems. That would be totally amazing. So what we're gonna do, which it's already getting really hot. Today was supposed to be cooler. It's already by 85 degrees outside. I'm a wuss when it comes to heat, you guys. I know, it's okay. It's okay. But we're gonna go ahead and rip out everything out of here. We're gonna finish harvesting these beans off of here and pull them out. The kohlrabi, I had high hopes for. I may leave those, but the Swiss chard is bolted, so we're gonna go ahead and pull that out. And I think if the kale looks okay, I'm gonna leave that. We have a hole here from the peas, and then we have some old lettuce. I'm gonna pull that out, and I think it's time to harvest a bunch of beets and make pickled beets with those. These beans right here, these are purple potted pole beans, and they are starting to produce because our night times are getting pretty cold. The other day it was 39 degrees here, and then it was 41 and 42 degrees here. It is changing. The temperature is changing, and we are looking at potential frosts within the next 2 weeks. So it doesn't mean we're gonna get a killing frost, but likely. So my birthday is August 30th. We almost always get a frost on my birthday, so I'm expecting it. I'm planning for it, and I don't know. I haven't decided exactly what I should do. Should I try to keep the garden going? I need to order some frost blankets. Will they be here in time? It's all questions that I'm trying to answer and decide how hard do I want to work for all this. This bed's doing awesome. We have green beans that are coming into production, and beets, and some stuff, mustard greens, that got hit pretty hard. It is time to harvest our arugula seeds, so we will be doing that today. I have some more rutabagas that's ready, and probably some kohlrabi that we can eat out of here. Have you guys ever seen a kohlrabi before? They're kind of crazy. I'll show you. So this is the kohlrabi plant right here. So this bulb right here, it's really just an above ground root. That's the part we eat, and you can eat them raw or you can eat them cooked. They taste like sort of like a radish / cauliflower if they are raw, and we find they're a little bit more like cauliflower when they're cooked, but we really love them. They're one of our favorites. And this bed also back here, which I can hardly even get through these sunflowers, has had some peas. Let's see, sneak in here. There we go. So these peas are ready. I have been saving them. They're Micah's favorite kind of snow pea, and I couldn't get seeds for them, so I thought, you know what, I better just put all of our crop to seed this year, and we'll be able to plant it next year. And so that's what we'll do. We'll save all that seed. And the cats were laying in here, unfortunately, and they kind of knocked over a lot of our carrots, but we have plenty of backups. And yeah, so we're just gonna kind of go through this garden and figure out all the things that we can harvest out of it, take out of it, make room, and then we're gonna plant some fall crops. taking all of these beans off of here, and then I'm going to go ahead and rip these plants out. The reason that we're picking them out and pulling up the plants is because the health of the plant has deteriorated and the production is just going down. So while yes, there are lots and lots of teeny tiny beans on here, they're not really growing, and it seems like I can't keep them watered enough to get them past, you know, tiny stage. So we really want them to be like much bigger. So we're gonna go ahead and pull them out. Well, I am a big proponent of no dig gardening, and that is generally how we run our in-ground gardens. This particular row, I went ahead and just ripped them out. Usually I will cut off the plants and leave the roots to deteriorate in the ground, but with these beans I noticed a little bit of what I think is a rust, like a bean rust problem. I don't know the exact name, where the beans themselves, even though the plants were super healthy and everything looked good, the beans on one plant was becoming rust colored. So I decided I should probably rip them out and take them, and usually I would put them on my compost, but in this case I'm going to take them to the burn pile. The kohlrabi I am going to thin. So it doesn't take too much time to go ahead and just thin through it. If they look like they're gonna start bulbing up, I'll leave them, and then that should stimulate the rest of them to go ahead and produce that bulb up on the top that I showed you guys a little bit ago. And I have noticed that kohlrabi does really like its space. Now, normally I would have done this a long time ago, but with a garden this size, there's more jobs and things to be done than there is time in the day. So we just do what we can, and hopefully at some point we can catch up somewhere. So this is the kale. I'm gonna try to leave it and see if I can revive it with the cold weather coming. It should be a little bit less stressed out. But the kale, or the Swiss chard here, if it's bolted, I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out, and the rest of it I will see if I can leave it. If you're unfamiliar with the term of bolting, it just means that it's gone to flower. This is supposed to be a biennial, so it's not supposed to flower this year. And I'm not sure if there are male and female. If you guys know, could you let me know in the comments? But this, I'm not sure if it's male, female, so one produces the pollen and other produces the seed or not, but we're not gonna let it take up any more space in our raised bed. So I will be taking out these big, tall red auric plants. I know they're not red colored, but that's what they come from, is the red auric plant. I am going to wait because I'm going to clip them off. They actually have a pretty sturdy root system, and I have found that these little seed pods make the most beautiful bouquet. So while we're out here, we might as well make a beautiful flower bouquet. I also see a gigantic sunflower that is so heavy it got knocked over, so we're going to cut that out and use all those flowers and all of these to make a bouquet with. This plant, if you're unfamiliar with it, this is wild lettuce, and it is medicinal. I don't usually let it go to seed a whole lot in my garden, so I'll probably end up just pulling this out, but we're not gonna weed or tackle this area other than this plant right here, which I left because it has all these great seed pods on it. So this is kale. Red Russian kale, and I'm gonna go ahead and save all the seeds off of this. So we're gonna put that in a separate pile. Okay, so let's deal with these red auric here and the sunflower that's falling over. we're gonna go ahead and harvest it anyway. Like the wasps beat us to the Jostaberries a little bit. It was pretty loaded, and then it did get aphids pretty bad in the beginning of the season, which is something I noticed that the Jostaberries seem to have a problem with. So it is what it is. That's why we have lots and lots and lots of types of berries, so that if we lose one, it's no big deal. We have a backup. Shall we try one? I have only tried a couple of these. It's a cross between a gooseberry and a blackcurrant. Oh yeah, they're pretty tart, not as tart as a currant, but pretty tasty. We cut out a perfectly healthy sunflower, while obviously we have lots of sunflowers in our garden here. You can see more behind me here. We love the sunflowers, and we also like the seeds, but the thing is that we lose our sunlight so fast here in the north. It gets too shadowy, so that at the end of the season, if we want, oh sorry, bees. Bees are really everywhere. This is why we don't usually garden in the middle of the day. They're not bees, they're wasps. There is a big difference. Wasps are super predatory, and so they're very aggressive. Oh, okay, there weren't really very many berries on there, but I'm gonna show you something else in just a sec, okay? Okay? Okay. So, what we're doing right now is we're trying to clear out the things that are really slowing down in production in order to plant a new crop. So we're going to be planting radishes and spinach and lettuce and any other greens, probably some mustard greens, things like that are really fast turnovers, so we can maybe get a fall crop. Now, it's a little tricky. We will likely have to use a cover because our temperatures go from 40s and 50s in August all the way down to 20 degrees in one night. That can happen. And so all of a sudden, you know, we're trucking along, we have fairly steady temperatures, and then bam, all of a sudden the season starts to shift and it's just done, and that's it. So you've lost everything. So that's something we're trying really hard right now to eliminate, the harsh transitions, and show like covers and things like that. But it's just a work in progress. So I think I can get more of a harvest, an extended harvest, out of these raised beds. That's one of the reasons we chose the metal raised beds. So we'll just see. We're just going to experiment and see what happens, guys. I'm going to take you over here, though, and show you something fun. Come here, Maggie. That is growing. Here is something that is benefiting tremendously, is these boysenberries that I have planted back here. Maggie, those are very, very pokey, okay? So walk around this way with mommy. Boysenberries are technically not a crop we can grow here, but we are trying to push the limits. Some years we get a harvest, some years we do not. And this year we have a tiny harvest. We've got a couple boysenberries right here. You want to pick them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be careful.
Just the two black ones. They're very pokey. Oh, oh, no. Okay, yeah, we don't want to squash it. When? Oh, wait, are you eating it? Hey, you. I'm going to get this one. No, you're going to eat it? Hey, you. She's my berry monster. She'll eat all the berries. She really will. Won't you, Maggie?
If I see the berries that I want.
If I see the berries I want, I'm going to eat them. That's what she says. I guess I can't blame her, guys.
If I see
She's
the
pretty
berries
cute.
that I want, I'm going to eat them.
Okay, we are going to move on.
Ow.
Yeah, do you want to take the beans in the house for me?
With you.
Well, I have to move on to the next bed here, okay? You go ahead and take the beans inside and then come back. I have more stuff to pick. Deal?
Okay.
Okay, actually, we have more beans we can pick real quick. Okay, let's pick more beans.
Well,
Yeah, I'll only pick the super duper big ones.
do you get stone? Where's your stone?
On my leg right here.
Ooh.
We're maybe not going to get as much done as I thought. That is the second time I've been stung now. Super great. Okay, so the plan is, maybe I'm I'm gonna overview real quick so that we can just work, because I think that's gonna be helpful for us. So right now I'm just gonna go ahead and pull out the beets that are ready, pull the lettuce out and get this bed prepped. We'll probably plant tonight. And then we're gonna pull out anything that I really didn't want to go to seed. So like these, we had left them, these greens right here for the bees. And so we're gonna pull those out, and then I'm gonna pull the arugula out and kind of see where we are from there. Remember, just because it's past its prime doesn't mean it doesn't get used on our farm. All of that lettuce, while we wouldn't necessarily want to eat it because it's gotten pretty bitter at this point, it goes to the goats and they absolutely love it. Look at those. These are golden beets. They're one of my absolute favorites. We've opened up quite a lot of light for these beets to keep on growing. I actually didn't thin them. I was going to, and the weather got so hot and so dry, I thought, you know what, if I leave them together, then they will just grow apart. And honestly, we don't really like our beets to be any bigger than this anyway. And we really love the greens for our salad. And in the summer, generally we lose our lettuce anyway. It just gets too hot for it. And while our lettuce did produce for a really long time, I kind of pushed it to the limits here, and just to see like what will these raised beds do. I've never gardened in raised beds to this extent before, and I thought, well, let's give it a try. So we actually ended up with a killer harvest. We were going to probably turn all of these beets, minus a few that we'll eat and just enjoy with butter and salt. We will probably pickle the rest of these and make pickled beets that are going to be enjoyed in the winter. Okay, onto this bed. It's gonna be some brutal thinning. I did go ahead and already thin these beets out, and what that's gonna do, so here's the beet row. I thinned it pretty heavy, and now these beans on the back here can have the light that they need in order to get growing. Found some turnips I didn't even know. Oh my gosh. Look at that one. Oh man. Well, we're gonna let the animals eat this. This one's fine, but it's probably pretty woody and I can see a little bit of damage on it. So we're gonna just let the goats have that. All right, that is one bed ready for winter. 2 beds that are ready to be replanted. 3 beds. We've gotten it. 2 to go. Let's go tackle that big guy. Beans. So these guys got a little bit leggy because I assumed I would be harvesting the seed of the arugula a lot faster, so that was maybe not the best decision on my part. But now we have a whole ton of arugula seeds, and it is as simple as hanging those plants upside down, or even just breaking off the pods if you don't have that much room, putting them in a box, letting them dry completely, and then the seeds will pop out. Then you have arugula. And we're going to do the same thing. There's a little grasshopper. We're going to do the same thing with our kale seeds that we saved. So now these guys will have the opportunity to fruit really heavy. They are already setting flowers, and I found something really awesome garden snack. So I have actually, despite the look of it, kept up on this bed pretty good because I've got this big tomato here, And then I had these beans. So what I've been doing with the rutabagas here, which you can see one of them is way ready. Actually, two of them are way ready to be harvested, but we're just eating these as we go. So I don't want to pick them before I know we're going to be able to use them. Although I might come back and grab one for dinner tonight. We'll see. But I've just been cutting off or ripping off the leaves that are sort of protruding out into the bed. And that's doing two things. Number one, that is making sure that the beans don't get crushed and that they don't get moldy or anything like that. Don't get any fungal diseases. So I've been pulling those off there. And then the other thing is that it keeps the rutabaga healthy, even though they don't look super great because the cabbage moths have come through and eaten holes in them. It's not actually damaging the rutabaga themselves, so I'm just letting it happen. So any of the yellowing leaves, I am pulling those out, and I have been keeping up on that for the entire lifespan of these rutabagas. And then I showed you a little bit ago the kohlrabi that are also growing in here, and I thinned those quite a while ago. So I think what we're going to do is probably cut this sunflower out because it is starting to make it so we can't really water, unfortunately. And I think we're going to have to cut the one out behind me as well because it fell over. So we'll just harvest those flowers for bouquets, which will make Maggie super happy. And then I will maybe see if I can trim some of these kohlrabi here because I've got carrots and radishes planted under there that I really don't want to sacrifice.